Welcome back. This is Devvy. I'm going to cut the music just a little bit short because I forgot at the bottom of the hour we do a little housekeeping. If you are signed up for my free email alerts, you'll get one tomorrow reminding you our guest on Monday is Coach Dave Daubenmire. He writes for newswithviews.com, and we're going to talk about secular conservatives. Tuesday is Frosty Wooldridge. We're going to talk about illegal immigration. Wednesday is Bob Chapman from the International Forecaster. The following week is Representative Jim Guest from the Missouri State Legislature, followed by Dr. Catherine Albrecht on the RFID chips and microchips. And then following night is Representative Bobby Franklin, who serves in the Georgia State Legislature. So we are very, very busy coming up. And Dr. Reisman, I am going to order your book, Sexual Sabotage, because I want to write a column about it. We need to continue getting this out. And I want to move over because, let's see, I need to bring it up here. Do you know who Dr. Edwin Vieira is?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
He's one of my...
Pardon?
He's one of my dear friends, but he wrote this book called How to Dethrone the Imperial Judiciary, and it was on.
Yes, I have not read it yet, but it was on my list when I saw it. I thought, good gracious, it's something.
We do so much research, but it is a brilliant piece of work in that, number one, it's only a couple hundred pages, and you and I read ourselves into ashtrays. But this is a segue into what I'm going to ask you about. But in this book on Lawrence v. Texas, which was a setup, we know that now.
Yes,
it was a setup. But to quote Dr. Vieira, he says, on the other side, Justice O'Connor did not deny that homosexuality is a voluntarily chosen lifestyle and homosexual sodomy generally a consensual act. That is, she did not contend that every individual with homosexual tendencies is innately and unchangeably homosexual. So here's one of the justices of the United States Supreme Court admitting that she didn't deny it, and this was in oral arguments. So I was looking at your human events sodomy decision. Well, sodomy decision based on fraudulent science, and then you underneath the dubious origins of gay studies. I bring this up because on school campuses throughout the country, and I believe that this isn't just another outgrowth of Kinsey. You have young girls who have no concept or understanding of the consequences of their actions, who are all experimenting with being lesbians and kissing each other at school.
Yeah, it's called Lesbian Chick.
Is that what it? Oh my gosh!
It's called Lesbian Chick, and they perform this way because they want to get the attention of the boys, you know. And the boys have been raised by pornography, and so they are accustomed to lesbian scenes, right? Mainly because whether they realize it or not, that stirs them because it's so shameful and so fear-inducing. And that fear and shame then translates itself down the spinal cord into the reproductive organs, and the individual thinks he's, quote, sexually aroused, and he's never just sexually aroused. It's not sexual arousal, but it's fear and it's shame and it's horror and it's anger and it's all sorts of other emotions that are translated down the spinal cord straight into the reproductive organs. And so we're breeding these dysfunctional guys, and the dysfunctional guys think that the two girls making out or the three girls making out is a really big deal, and the girls want, of course, always all girls, or not all girls, but certainly most girls, seek out the concept of nesting and they want male attention, and they'll do whatever the traffic bears. If the guys want Puritan virgin little girls, that's what they'll do. If the guys want girls who are covered up from head to toe, that's what they'll do if the handsome guy says so and wants it. But if the guys indicate that that's what they desire, then those girls are going to outdo each other to make themselves to prostitute themselves as much as possible. And they'll walk out with PhDs, and they'll be your legislators, and they'll be your doctors, and you can anticipate some serious problems.
And, there's so much information out there about how women have such a hard time conceiving, and these in vitro fertilization clinics are making so much money. Yeah. I've talked to my mom about this before, and I think probably after I've read some of your columns. And I said, Mom, it didn't used to be that way, but I have to believe that because these young girls have so many sexually transmitted diseases and stuff.
Oh, sure, they're scarring themselves. Yeah, they're scarring themselves. There's no question about it. And there's all kinds of other emotional aspects to this as well, but the physical aspects are well established. You cannot, girls cannot, and boys cannot for other reasons, but girls cannot engage in multiple partner activity. It simply does not work physically for them. It endangers them in every way, shape, and form. But, I want to end up, too, on a high note, if you will, because one of the things I write about in Sexual Sabotage is the fact that, as bad as Amsterdam, the Netherlands is, I was sued by Playboy in the Netherlands because I was on a television program and I said that Playboy produced more child pornography in 1994 than any other group at all, and that they were promoting incest and child sexual abuse. And they sued me for libel. But look, when you have the data and you have the facts, it's very hard, even for the most biased culture, to identify, to say that you're wrong. And the judges in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, ruled that Playboy had absolutely no case. The pictures were there. The children were in them. The sexual abuse and the incest was part of Playboy's foundational message. You couldn't deny it, just like you can't deny what Kinsey was doing to those children. It's all in the graphs. It's all in the charts, and we must get it into the courtroom.
I agree, and the one thing about sodomy is that whenever I hear, gay marriage and equal rights, I think to myself, and I've been very explicit, warning people in my columns, when I use as clinical as I can, how dangerous, how much loss of life by men who are homosexuals, who practice this dangerous lifestyle, that the rectum was not made for this type of activity, how you spread disease, and how sad it is that they die so young.
Absolutely. It's mass murder, Devvy. One of the things I don't understand is how come people don't comprehend who go in the courtroom that what you're looking at is mass murder of boys. These are mostly, most of the people dying of AIDS were infected when they were young by adult men. It is mass murder. It's mass murder of our young boys. Now, they go and they transfer that AIDS to girls. Of course they do, because they're trying to prove their manhood and that sort of thing. But this is mass. If an army came over here and did what has been done to our children, we would understand and we would know that. We would say that's a foreign conquering brutal army. And that's what's happening to our kids right now, but it's happening based on our own domestic people.
Yes, and of course all of these politicians. I never use the word gay because to me, lying in a hospital bed, dying of a terrible disease like AIDS is not gay. And
there's nothing gay about it.
Yeah, and the psychological as well as the physical problems of sodomy, there's nothing gay about it. But on a higher note, I get a lot of email from men who are, they always say, hey, Devvy, do you have a sister? Or they say, you know what, Devvy, I'm so sick of these slutty women out there. Where are the nice women? Where are the nice girls out there? So I kind of think that maybe men are coming to the realization that they don't really want the block party's date.
Well, yeah, look, the thing that most men don't understand is pornography instantaneously introduces impotence. The minute a guy has to think about a picture when he's with someone that he should be loving, the minute he has to do that, he has already defined himself as impotent, as without his own power, his own masculine power. So pornography has never really been aimed at dehumanizing women. It does obviously dehumanize women and children because all pornography aims for the child, including Playboy. But more than anything else, pornography is always designed as an attack on men. It is impotent men like Hefner and Guccione and Flint, impotent men like these guys and the rest of them, who then must try to make all male society as impotent as they are, as dependent as they are on their own products in order to do what great-grandpa and could do without blinking an eye.
and that makes all the sense in the world if people would just think this through. The internet is such a wonderful tool. It brings the world to us. But at the same time, it is truly the superhighway of filth and garbage. And, too many parents, I think, are not really taking seriously the filters that they should have. And, of course, then you have the academics out there, who support this type of thing. And I was going to go back to, and it's not just here, but in your column, April 15th, you were talking about, I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but it was in see how old-fashioned I am, in British Columbia, Canada. It was sex tests for young offenders, and that's something called the penile plethysmography test for 13-year-olds, and where they have to view pictures of nude and semi-clad children and listen to audio descriptions of forced sexual scenarios while their arousal levels are measured. How humiliating and how degrading.
Yeah, I mean, and we should know this is international. One of the big problems about Kinsey is he was international. He had, and mind you, he was just the point man for the Rockefeller Foundation. I mean, he was the guy they needed. Freud wouldn't do. He was too foreign. He was Jewish. So they needed a middle class, apparently, conservative guy. So they picked Kinsey. They dressed him up, put a tie on him, and cut his hair and stuff, and pretended he was a normal guy. And of course, he was always a psychopath, no question about it. But yeah, in terms of where this has led us, that's one of the important reasons that I was doing sexual sabotage, is because unless we get these things into the courtroom, unless we get our conservative lawyers to understand that we have got to get into the courtroom with this material, with these data, because unless we get these data into the courtroom and into the legislative system, the media will never cover it at all, okay? But once you're able to win those big tobacco lawsuits, once you're able to win millions of dollars, then people say, oh, my goodness, was I really listening to that all these years? I was really smoking those cigarettes and they were giving me cancer,
We're out of time. I'm sorry, the computer's going to cut us off. Thank you so much. I know you're so busy, and I really appreciate your coming on the show, Dr. Reisman.
Oh, I've loved it. I've admired you for years.
Oh, thank you. I truly am humbled. Anyway, you have a great weekend, okay?
And you too.